Picture this for a second. You wake up on a Tuesday morning, pour your coffee, scroll through LinkedIn, and the first 3 posts staring back at you are former coworkers announcing they just got laid off from Amazon, Meta, or some company you thought was bulletproof. That sinking feeling in your stomach? You're not imagining it, and you're definitely not alone. The number being thrown around right now is staggering. Roughly 253,000 jobs gone in a brutally short stretch, and the dominoes are still falling. I'm Kunal, the guy behind Failed Finance, and I run this channel from right here in the States because I genuinely believe most Americans are walking into the biggest labor market shift of their lifetimes without a map, without a flashlight, and frankly, without a clue about how fast the ground is moving under their feet. So before you click off because the headlines feel heavy, stick with me. Because by the end of this conversation, I want you walking away with real, grounded clarity about what's actually happening. Which careers are quietly becoming bulletproof, which ones are quietly becoming obsolete, and what you personally should be doing in the next 90 days to protect your paycheck and your peace of mind. Let's talk numbers first, because the noise on social media is wild, but the actual data tells a much sharper story. According to layoffs.fyi and reporting from CNBC, over 92,000 tech workers were laid off in just the first stretch of 2026, bringing the total to almost 900,000 since 2020. Think about that. Almost 1 million highly educated, well-compensated tech professionals. Many of them folks who graduated from places like Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, Georgia Tech, pushed out of the workforce in roughly 5 years. And the pace isn't slowing down. Tech layoffs hit 81,747 in Q1 2026 alone, which is already 45 to 55% of all of last year's total cuts. Meanwhile, Google, Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft are projected to spend $725 billion on AI capital expenditure in 2026, up 77% year over year. And here's the kicker. 275,000 AI jobs are sitting open, while laid-off workers can't cross the skills divide to fill them. Read that last sentence again, because that's the entire story in one breath. There are jobs. There are tons of jobs. But they're not the jobs people trained for. And the gap between what companies need and what the average worker can deliver is widening by the week. Now, if you're someone who graduated from a 4-year college recently, and you've been sending out applications into the void, hearing nothing back, second-guessing your degree, calling your parents, trying to explain why the offer letters aren't rolling in like they did for your older cousin, I want you to know something important. This is not your fault. The market changed underneath you, and nobody handed out a memo. The folks at the top. Andy Jassy at Amazon, Mark Zuckerberg at Meta, Satya Nadella at Microsoft, Mark Benioff at Salesforce. They're not making these cuts because the economy is in recession. They're making these cuts because AI is finally good enough to do entire chunks of white-collar work that used to require human brains, human hours, and human paychecks. The same companies that are collectively spending hundreds of billions of dollars a year to build out artificial intelligence infrastructure to meet soaring demand for AI services are seeking efficiencies from AI by slashing headcount. That's the unspoken trade. Build the machine, then hand the machine your team's job description and watch the spreadsheet smile. Let's zoom out for a moment because I want you to understand the shape of the economy we're walking into. And it's a shape economists are calling K-shaped. The K-shape basically means 2 diverging lines, one going up sharply, one going down sharply, both starting from the same point. The people on the upper arm of the K, the AI engineers, the prompt architects, the data infrastructure folks, the cybersecurity specialists protecting all this new digital plumbing, the executives sitting on stock comp tied to AI rollouts. Those people are winning bigger than at any point in modern American history. The people on the lower arm of the K, entry-level coders, mid-level managers whose only job was to relay information, customer service reps, paralegals doing document review, junior accountants reconciling line items, content writers cranking out blog posts. Those folks are watching their entire career ladders get pulled out from under them. And here's what AI is going to do. It's going to take that K and stretch it wider, faster, more brutally than anything we've seen since the offshoring wave of the late 1990s and early 2000s. Market concentration is also hitting numbers that should make every American uncomfortable. A handful of mega-cap names, the so-called Magnificent Seven, now make up a disproportionate share of the S&P 500. If those names sneeze, your 401k catches the flu. So when people ask me, "Hey Kunal, is this an AI bubble?" my honest answer is, it depends entirely on whether these companies can actually monetize what they're building. The history lesson here is critical. Go back to 1999. Pets.com was worth billions. Webvan was burning cash like firewood. Cisco hit a valuation that, adjusted for inflation, still hasn't been touched. The internet absolutely changed the world, but most of the early companies that defined the boom went bankrupt. The people who built the railroads got buried by the railroads. And nobody captured this lesson better than Warren Buffett, who once pointed out that the automobile was one of the most important inventions of the first half of the 20th century. But of the 2,000 car companies that existed, only 3 survived. So autos had an enormous impact on America, but the opposite on investors. The airline industry also changed the world, but made little to no money for investors due to the industry's need for constant capital. Hold that thought, because it's the single most underrated framework for thinking about the AI moment we're living through. AI is unquestionably transformative. AI is unquestionably going to reshape every industry. But that does not automatically mean every company riding the AI wave will reward shareholders. And it absolutely does not mean every worker pivoting to AI-adjacent skills will land softly. Buffett's bigger point, the one I want tattooed in everyone's head, is that the key to investing is not assessing how much an industry is going to affect society or how much it will grow, but rather determining the competitive advantage of any given company and the durability of that advantage. The products or services that have wide, sustainable moats around them are the ones that deliver rewards to investors. Translate that to your career, because it's the same principle. Don't pick a job based on the hype of the industry. Pick skills that build a personal moat around you, something AI can't easily replicate, something that compounds with experience rather than depreciates with software updates. Quick disclaimer before we keep going. Nothing I share on this channel is personalized financial advice. I'm not your CPA. I'm not your fiduciary. I'm just a guy who spent way too many years studying markets, watching people make brilliant moves and disastrous ones, and trying to translate what I see into language that actually helps. Talk to a licensed professional before you make any big money decisions. Okay, back to it. Let's talk about which industries are absorbing the AI wave next, because the layoffs you're reading about today are only the opening act. The bigger story is that AI is spreading into banking, healthcare, logistics, and utilities at a pace that's catching even Wall Street analysts off guard. Look at JP Morgan. Look at Bank of America. Look at Wells Fargo. These aren't tech companies, they're banks, but they're rolling out internal AI tools that are quietly retiring entire categories of work. Loan processing, fraud detection, compliance documentation, even the first-pass underwriting of mortgages. All being handed to algorithms. And the folks losing those seats aren't getting press coverage because nobody writes a CNBC headline when a regional bank in Ohio quietly shrinks its back office. Healthcare is the next domino, and this one is going to hit harder than people expect. Radiology was supposed to be one of the safest professions in medicine. High pay, low burnout, lots of autonomy. Now, AI imaging tools are reading scans faster than most humans, with comparable or better accuracy on certain conditions. Medical coders, billing specialists, transcriptionists, even some categories of nursing administration. All of these roles are being restructured around AI workflows. Logistics is another one. Look at the trucking industry. Look at warehouse robotics. Look at the autonomous yard tractors quietly being deployed at distribution centers across Texas, Tennessee, and Arizona. Amazon alone has restructured huge portions of its fulfillment workflow around automation, which is exactly why their corporate cuts have been so aggressive. They're funding the build-out. Utilities, power, water, telecom are using AI for predictive maintenance, load balancing, customer service routing. Every one of these sectors used to be considered recession-proof, stable, boring in the best possible way. Now they're recession-proof, but maybe not AI-proof, and there's a meaningful difference. So which careers are actually going to survive this? Let me give you my honest read. Based on what I'm seeing in hiring data, conversations with friends, running businesses, and the patterns that show up over and over when I dig into job postings. First, anything that requires physical presence in a complex, unpredictable environment. Skilled trades, electricians, plumbers, HVAC technicians, welders, linemen for utility companies. These jobs cannot be done from a server farm in Virginia. They require hands, judgment, and the willingness to crawl into a basement at 11 p.m. in February. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has been screaming about the shortage of skilled tradespeople for years, and the average age of a master electrician in this country is creeping toward retirement. If you have a teenager who's not sure about college, this is a serious conversation worth having. Second, healthcare jobs that involve hands-on human care. Registered nurses, physical therapists, occupational therapists, dental hygienists, ultrasound technicians, surgical assistants. These roles combine empathy, dexterity, and real-time judgment that AI simply cannot replicate at scale yet. Are some pieces of these jobs going to be automated? Sure, but the core of the work, actually being in a room with a sick human being and making them feel safer, that's not going anywhere. Third, anything in the cybersecurity world. Every AI rollout in corporate America creates a new attack surface. Every new model deployment creates new vulnerabilities. The same companies cutting tech jobs are quietly throwing money at security professionals who understand both AI systems and traditional infrastructure. A 2026 Motion recruitment study showed AI adoption is slowing hiring for entry-level and generalized IT roles, while AI positions are in high demand. Tech salaries remain largely flat from 2025, with the exception of some specialized jobs like AI engineers. Fourth, sales roles tied to complex, high-trust relationships, enterprise software sales, industrial equipment sales, insurance sales for high-net-worth clients, wealth management. These are jobs where the human relationship is the product. AI can write the email, AI can draft the proposal, but the handshake, the steakhouse dinner, the read on whether the client is bluffing in a negotiation, that's still human territory. Fifth, operations and project management roles in industries that involve physical assets, construction project managers, manufacturing plant managers, energy infrastructure operations. The kind of work where you're coordinating dozens of moving parts in the real world with real consequences if something goes wrong. Sixth, anything in early childhood education, special education, and elder care. America is aging. The demographic math is brutal and unavoidable. The demand for human care for both ends of the age spectrum is going to explode over the next 2 decades, and these are jobs where empathy and patience aren't optional features. Seventh, and maybe most underrated, the trades meet tech intersection. Solar installation, EV charging infrastructure build-out, industrial automation maintenance, data center construction, and operations. The very build-out of AI infrastructure requires armies of physical workers, and those workers are getting paid extremely well right now because there aren't enough of them. Now let's talk about what to actually do if you're sitting at your kitchen table tonight wondering whether you should panic. Don't panic. Plan. The folks who come out the other side of this are not the ones who refresh their LinkedIn feed every 20 minutes. They're the ones who build a financial buffer, sharpen the skills that matter, and play offense while everyone else plays defense. Step 1, and this is the unsexy one, but it's the most important. Build your emergency fund right now, not next month, right now. The old advice was 3 to 6 months of expenses. In an environment where senior engineers are taking 6, 7, 8 months to find new roles, I want you sitting on closer to 9 to 12 months of expenses if you work in any sector that's even remotely AI exposed. Senior engineers who lost jobs at Salesforce, Intel, and Workday are searching at the highest rates since the 2022 wave, with median time to hire in the Bay Area stretching from 38 days in Q3 2025 to 67 days in Q1 2026. 67 days is just the median in one metro. Plenty of folks are going past 120 days. Don't get caught flat-footed. Step 2. Review your monthly burn rate with brutal honesty. Subscriptions you forgot about. Car payments that don't match your reality. Restaurant spending that crept up during the post-pandemic years. I'm not saying live like a monk. I'm saying know your number. Because the second your income gets shaky, the only thing that gives you breathing room is the gap between what you make and what you spend. Step 3. Diversify your income before you need to. Side projects, freelance work, a second skill set that earns even a few $100 a month. That's an insurance policy that doesn't show up on any benefits portal. Step 4. And this is where the AI conversation flips from scary to opportunity. Upskill aggressively, but upskill in the right direction. Don't waste 6 months learning a programming language that an AI will write better than you by next Christmas. Instead, learn how to use AI tools to multiply your output in whatever field you already work in. If you're in marketing, become the person on your team who builds the best prompts, who automates the boring stuff, who turns a 40-hour campaign into an 8-hour sprint. If you're in finance, learn how to use AI for modeling, scenario analysis, document summarization. If you're in HR, learn how to use AI for screening, training material generation, employee analytics. The pattern is the same across every white-collar job. The people who get cut are the ones doing the work AI now does. The people who get promoted are the ones using AI to do that work plus 3 other things. Quick gut check moment. Drop a comment below and tell me honestly, what field do you work in and how exposed do you feel right now? I read every comment, and I want to know where the real anxiety is sitting because that helps me decide which deep dive videos to make next. Step 5. And I cannot stress this enough. Protect your mental health through this transition. Job loss, even just the fear of job loss, is one of the most psychologically destabilizing experiences an adult can go through in modern America. It's tied up with identity, self-worth, status, family responsibility, all of it. If you're losing sleep, talk to someone. If you're catastrophizing every news article, take a break from the algorithm. The market is not going to collapse this week. Your career is not over by Friday. And the dumbest financial decisions in history are almost always made by people operating from a place of pure panic. Now, let me come back to Buffett one more time, because there's a quote of his from his 1989 letter to shareholders that I think captures this entire AI moment perfectly. But as happens in Wall Street all too often, what the wise do in the beginning, fools do in the end. The smart money got into AI infrastructure 2 years ago at reasonable valuations. The fools are piling in now at multiples that assume nothing ever goes wrong. The smart workers started reskilling 18 months ago. The folks I'm worried about are the ones who are going to wait another 2 years before they take this seriously. And by then, the door will be a lot harder to walk through. Let's go deeper into the K-shape, because I don't think most people have processed how cleanly the American workforce is splitting in two. On one side, you've got the AI-augmented worker, someone who walks into the office, fires up Claude or ChatGPT or some internal tool, and produces in 2 hours what used to take a team of 5 people 2 days. That worker is getting raises, promotions, equity grants, and corporate love letters. On the other side, you've got the worker who treats AI as someone else's problem. That worker is becoming a budget line item that's about to get crossed off. There is no middle anymore. The middle has been algorithmically optimized out of existence. And here's what makes this moment historically unique compared to past tech transitions: the speed. The agricultural revolution took generations. The industrial revolution took decades. The internet rollout took maybe 15 years from mainstream adoption to economic dominance. AI is doing in 18 months what those transitions did in 18 years. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology released a study in November showing that AI can already do the job of 11.7% of the US workforce. And that number is climbing every quarter. Now think about who's in that 11.7%. It's not just call center workers, although it's plenty of them. It's also accountants doing routine reconciliations, junior lawyers doing document review, marketing analysts pulling reports, financial planners doing basic portfolio modeling, journalists writing rote summaries, and a long list of roles that used to feel like solid middle-class anchors. The income distribution implications are massive. If 12% of the workforce gets squeezed out of their roles, and only 3 to 4% of those people successfully transition into the new AI jobs, you're looking at a permanent dislocation of millions of American households. The political fallout from that. The policy debate around universal basic income, around AI taxation, around retraining programs, is going to dominate the next decade. But you can't wait for Washington to fix this. By the time policy catches up, the layoff letter is already on your desk. Let me also flag something I'm seeing in the hiring data that doesn't get enough attention. Bloomberg data suggests roughly half of AI-attributed layoffs will result in the same roles being rehired offshore or at lower salaries, which is a labor repricing story, not purely a labor reduction story. What does that mean for you in plain English? Even when AI doesn't directly eliminate your job, it gives your employer leverage to lower the salary band for that role and to hire someone in Manila or Bangalore or Mexico City for a fraction of what they were paying you. The real wages of American knowledge workers are about to get squeezed from two directions: automation from above, offshoring from below. The only way out is to be the kind of worker who's worth the premium. That means specialized skills, irreplaceable judgment, deep relationships, or some combination of all three. If your job description could be written into a 50-page operations manual, your job is at risk. If your job description is figure it out, manage the chaos, keep clients happy, and bring me good ideas on Monday morning, you're probably fine. Before we keep going into part 2, where I want to dig into the specific industries that are about to become gold mines, the exact upskilling paths that pay off, and the financial moves you should be making with your 401k and your taxable brokerage in this environment, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Failed finance exists because I think Americans deserve straight talk about money and careers without the doom scrolling and without the cheerleading. If this conversation is hitting home, the next part is going to give you a tactical playbook you can actually use this week. Let's pick up right where we left off, because the playbook side of this conversation is where most YouTube videos drop the ball. They scare you for 10 minutes, then they tell you to learn AI and roll the credits. That's not useful. You need actual moves, in actual order, with actual dollar figures and actual timelines. So let's get into it. First, I want to address the elephant in the room. The question I get in my inbox about 100 times a week. Kunal, am I too old to switch careers? And I'll tell you what I tell everyone who emails me. The honest answer depends less on your age and more on your trajectory. I've watched 52-year-old factory supervisors pivot into solar project management within 18 months and out-earn their previous careers. I've watched 28-year-old MBA grads from top-tier programs spend a year unemployed because they refuse to consider anything outside their original track. Age matters less than mental flexibility. With that out of the way, let me walk you through the 4-phase financial defense plan that I think every American household should be running right now, whether you're worried about your job or not. Phase 1, liquidity. Phase 2, debt discipline. Phase 3, income diversification. Phase 4, strategic investing. Each phase builds on the last, and skipping ahead is the most common mistake I see. Phase 1 is liquidity, which is just a fancy word for cash you can actually touch in a hurry. The biggest mistake people make here is keeping their emergency fund in the wrong place. Not in a checking account earning nothing. Not in a brokerage account where it's tangled up with market risk. Not in a 401k where you'll pay penalties to access it. The right home for this money is a high-yield savings account at a reputable institution that's paying you something close to the federal funds rate. Right now, that means yields in the mid to high single digits depending on the bank, fully FDIC insured up to the standard limits, available in 24 hours when you need it. The goal isn't to get rich on this money. The goal is to have it ready when life hits the fan, and to make sure inflation doesn't quietly eat it while it sits there waiting. How much should be in this account? Run the actual math on your monthly expenses. Rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance, transportation, debt minimums, the necessities of being a functional adult. Multiply that number by at least 6. If you work in a high AI exposure field like tech, marketing, legal, finance, or media, multiply by 9 or 12. Yes, that feels excessive. No, it isn't. Phase 2 is debt discipline, and this is where I want to gently push back on the conventional wisdom that's been floating around personal finance for years. The old playbook said pay down high-interest credit card debt aggressively, then attack student loans, then think about the mortgage. That's still mostly right, but the AI economy adds a wrinkle. Variable rate debt is more dangerous now than it used to be because your income stability is lower than it used to be. So if you've got an adjustable rate mortgage, a variable rate home equity line, or revolving credit card balances, I'd treat those with much more urgency than the average finance influencer suggests. Fixed rate debt at low interest rates from the pandemic era? Don't kill yourself paying that off early. That money is better deployed building your liquidity buffer or upskilling. Phase 3 is income diversification, and this is where most American households are dangerously fragile without realizing it. If your entire household income comes from one employer, you have a single point of failure that can blow up your life with one email. I'm not suggesting everyone needs to start a side business. I am suggesting that everyone should have at least one secondary income stream, even a small one, that exists outside their primary employer's control. Freelance consulting in your area of expertise, teaching a course on a platform like Udemy or Teachable, renting out a spare room, driving a few hours a week if you genuinely enjoy it, building a portfolio of dividend-paying stocks or rental real estate over time. The specific vehicle matters less than the principle. Your future self will thank you for not being one paycheck away from disaster. Phase 4 is strategic investing in a market environment where, as I mentioned earlier, market concentration is at historic highs. Here's something most retail investors don't fully appreciate. When you buy an S&P 500 index fund today, you're not buying 500 equally weighted American companies. You're buying a portfolio where the top 10 names, almost all of them tied directly to AI in some way, make up roughly a third of the total weight. That's enormous concentration risk dressed up as diversification. So what do you do about it? You don't necessarily ditch your index funds. They've been a wealth-building machine for decades, and there's no reason to throw out the framework. But you do want to be thoughtful about adding complementary exposure. Value-tilted funds, equal-weight S and P funds, international developed markets, small caps, and yes, some exposure to actual cash-flowing assets like treasury bills and short-duration bonds that are paying real yields for the first time in a generation. Buffett himself, by the way, has been famously sitting on an enormous pile of cash and short-term treasuries through this entire AI boom, and his deputies at Berkshire Hathaway have been net sellers of equities for multiple consecutive quarters. That's not financial advice. That's just a data point worth chewing on. The world's most successful investor, the guy whose track record literally nobody on earth can match, has been quietly raising cash while everyone on social media tells you to go all in on the Magnificent Seven. Buffett has said that instead of looking for which companies will be boosted by new technologies, investors are often better served by looking for what won't change at all. The internet isn't going to change the way people chew gum, Buffett told students in a 2001 lecture. It isn't going to change which gum they chew. New industries have come along throughout history that massively change society and how we live every day. But Buffett says that doesn't mean the industries will be rewarding for shareholders. Airlines and auto manufacturers are two examples of businesses that fundamentally changed the world, but have mostly disappointed investors. That insight applies to your portfolio and your career simultaneously. Bet on durability, not just disruption. Now let's get into specific case studies, because abstract advice never sticks the way real stories do. Case study 1. Let's call her Rachel, a 34-year-old former product marketing manager at a major Bay Area tech company. Rachel got laid off in early 2025, part of the wave that hit Salesforce and similar firms. She had about 3 months of savings, a mortgage on a 2-bedroom in Oakland, and a partner who works in healthcare. Rachel did 3 things right that I want you to copy. She immediately cut her discretionary spending by 40% the same week she got the news. Not the same month, the same week. She picked up part-time consulting with 2 of her former vendors who already trusted her work, generating maybe a third of her old salary but enough to keep the mortgage current. And she enrolled in a structured upskilling program focused on AI product management. Not because she wanted to become a coder, but because she wanted to be the person on a product team who could ship AI-powered features faster than anyone else. 18 months later, she's earning more than she did at her old job, working remotely for a smaller company. And her stress level is lower because she now has 2 income streams instead of 1. Case study 2. Let's call him David, a 47-year-old senior software engineer at a financial services firm in Charlotte. David was a textbook example of someone who didn't see it coming. 22 years with the same company. Top performance ratings. Stable team. Then his entire division was restructured because the firm rolled out an internal AI development platform that let smaller teams ship faster than his team could. David's mistake wasn't his skills. They were excellent. His mistake was that he had stopped networking. He hadn't been to a meetup in 5 years. He didn't have a current portfolio of personal projects. His LinkedIn hadn't been touched since his last promotion. When the layoff hit, he had no warm leads, no recent recommendations, and a resume that read like it was written for a 2015 job market. It took him 8 months to land his next role at a 22% pay cut. The lesson: your career insurance is your network, your recent work, and your relevance. Letting any of those 3 lapse is the silent killer of high earners. Case Study 3. Let's call her Maria, a 52-year-old administrative supervisor at a regional bank in Phoenix. Maria's story might be the most important one because she represents the silent majority of American workers. Not in tech, not in finance, not making 6 figures, just trying to keep a household running. Her bank rolled out AI-powered customer service tools that eliminated her department over the course of about a year. Maria didn't panic, but she also didn't wait. She started taking certified medical assistant courses at the local community college on weekends, banking on the demographic reality that the healthcare sector in Arizona is desperately understaffed. Within a year, she had transitioned into a new role at a private healthcare practice, earning roughly what she made at the bank, with better benefits and zero risk of being automated out anytime soon. Total cost of her career transition: about $3,200 in tuition and books, plus 18 months of weekend commitment. That's a rounding error compared to the lifetime cost of being stuck in a dying career. So how do you figure out which path is right for you specifically? I want to give you a simple framework. 3 questions, and you answer them honestly. Question 1. What do I currently do that an AI cannot do, will not do, or should not do? Write the answer down. Be specific, not people skills. Specifically, I can read body language in a sales meeting and know when to back off. Specifically, I can troubleshoot a 30-year-old industrial pump with my hands in 5 minutes when a young engineer would need 3 days and a manual. Question 2. What does my local economy desperately need that I could plausibly retrain into within 12 to 24 months? Healthcare, skilled trades, cybersecurity, energy infrastructure, advanced manufacturing, specialty sales. These answers will be different depending on whether you live in Houston, Cleveland, Charlotte, Phoenix, or rural Pennsylvania. But every regional economy has its own gaps. Question 3. What AI tools should I be learning right now to multiply my current value, regardless of what industry I end up in? At minimum, become deeply fluent in 2 or 3 of the major large language models. Learn how to write prompts that produce useful output, not just clever output. Learn how to integrate AI into your existing workflow. Learn enough about how these models work that you don't get embarrassed in a meeting when someone asks a technical question. This is not optional anymore. It's about as basic as learning to use. Excel was in 1995. If you sit out, you fall behind. End of story. Now drop a comment below and tell me which of those 3 case studies hit closest to home for you. Rachel, David, or Maria? I genuinely want to know, because the comments section here at Failed Finance has become one of the most useful research tools I have for understanding what real Americans are dealing with right now. Let me also talk about the role of geography in this conversation, because it's underrated by almost every personal finance YouTuber I see. The cost of living in San Francisco, Seattle, New York, Boston, and Austin has decoupled from the salaries those cities pay for AI-exposed roles. The Seattle metropolitan area bore the heaviest impact, with approximately 16,590 tech workers affected by Amazon and Microsoft layoffs combined in Q1 2026. San Francisco saw 9,395 tech layoffs across multiple companies, while Menlo Park was affected by Meta's 1,500-person reduction. The geographic concentration of these layoffs is creating localized economic pressure in traditional tech hubs, with ripple effects across housing markets, commercial real estate, and local businesses. Translation: If you're paying $4,500 a month for a one-bedroom in San Jose and your industry is contracting, the math gets ugly very quickly. There's no shame in relocating. Some of the strongest career stories of the next decade are going to come from people who left expensive coastal markets and rebuilt in places like Nashville, Raleigh, Tampa, Salt Lake City, Columbus, Indianapolis, and the entire emerging belt of mid-sized cities that are absorbing both companies and workers at a healthy pace. Lower cost of living, lower property taxes, stronger sense of community in many cases, and a real chance to own a home before you turn 50. These are not small things. Run the numbers honestly and ask whether your zip code is helping you or hurting you. Now let me hit a few specific career tracks I think are going to be the biggest winners of the next decade for Americans who want both AI resistance and real income upside. Track 1. Physical infrastructure for the AI build-out. Amazon leads the pack with $125 billion in 2025 CapEx, plus $11 billion for Project Rainier, $8 billion in Anthropic, and a potential $50 billion OpenAI stake. Microsoft has committed $14+ billion to OpenAI. Google invested $3 billion in Anthropic. Meta allocated $35.40 billion to AI infrastructure in 2025. That money doesn't just disappear into the cloud. It builds buildings, massive buildings, with cooling systems, electrical systems, security systems, and physical labor of every type imaginable. Anybody who can pour concrete for a data center site, install high voltage, electrical, run fiber optic cable, maintain industrial HVAC systems, or manage construction projects in this space is going to be an absurd demand for the next decade. Track 2. Clinical healthcare. Demographics don't lie. The boomer generation is aging into the period of life when they need the most medical care. Nursing, physical therapy, occupational therapy, dental hygiene, ultrasound technology, surgical assistance, mental health counseling. All of these are growing faster than the supply of trained professionals. Many of them require less than 4 years of additional schooling. Many have starting salaries comparable to or higher than corporate entry-level jobs in major cities. And critically, AI is not coming for the hands-on parts of these jobs anytime soon. Track 3. Cybersecurity with a specialty focus. Generic IT security is getting commoditized, but specialized roles, cloud security architects, AI model security specialists, identity and access management experts, incident response professionals who can talk to executives without losing their cool. Those folks are getting paid a king's ransom, and the demand is only going one direction. Track 4. Sales and relationship management roles in industries that involve real money and real complexity. Commercial real estate, insurance, wealth management, industrial equipment, B2B enterprise software. The reason these roles survive is that buyers in these categories still want to look another human in the eye before they sign a contract worth 6 figures or more. AI can support these reps, but it cannot replace them. Track 5. And this is my personal favorite for entrepreneurial folks. Small business ownership in essential, recession-resistant niches. Plumbing companies, HVAC companies, auto repair shops, childcare centers, specialty food businesses, local service businesses with steady demand and limited automation exposure. Many baby boomer owners of these businesses are retiring with no succession plan, which is creating an enormous opportunity for the right buyer to step in with operational discipline and financial backing. SBA loans, seller financing, and creative deal structures are making this more accessible than people realize. Track 6. Content creation and media businesses with genuine personality and trust. The flood of AI-generated content is going to make authentic human voices more valuable, not less. The audiences that grow over the next decade will be the ones built around real people with real expertise and real points of view. It's harder than it looks, takes years to build, and most people quit before it pays off. But for the right person with the right mix of skill and patience, it's a viable path. Now let me close with something I think Americans don't talk about enough. The psychological discipline required to navigate a moment like this without losing your mind. Job uncertainty is corrosive. It eats at sleep, marriages, parenting, friendships, and self-esteem. If you're going through it right now, 3 things help more than anything else I've seen. First, structure your days. Wake up at the same time, get dressed, treat job searching or upskilling as your actual full-time job. Don't let yourself drift into the half-asleep limbo where days blur into weeks. Second, stay physically active. Walk every single day, even if you don't feel like it. The mental health research on this is overwhelming and ignored by half the people who need it. Third, talk to people. Not just about the job search, about anything. Isolation makes everything worse, and Americans in their 30s, 40s, and 50s are dealing with an epidemic of isolation that the data is finally starting to capture. Pick up the phone, schedule the coffee, show up for the dinner. You will be better for it. And on the flip side, if you're one of the lucky ones who's secure right now, watching this from a stable job with a healthy 401k and no immediate concerns, I want to challenge you not to get comfortable. The story I keep coming back to is the one Buffett tells about Wall Street, about how patterns of behavior at the top of a cycle look very different than patterns of behavior at the bottom. The smartest move you can make in a good year is to prepare for the year that isn't good. Build the buffer, sharpen the skills, strengthen the network, diversify the income. Be the version of yourself that future you will thank for being uncomfortably prepared. None of this is exciting. None of it makes for viral content. But this is how Americans actually build durable financial lives. And it's how families come out the other side of economic transitions stronger than they went in. Quick reminder once more. Nothing I'm sharing here is personalized financial advice for your specific situation. So please loop in a licensed professional before you make big moves with your money, your taxes, or your investments. I'm just the guy on YouTube giving you the framework and the questions to think about. The work, the decisions, and the responsibility all belong to you. If this two-part breakdown gave you even one useful idea you didn't have an hour ago, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment with the one move you're going to make this week. Could be opening a high-yield savings account. Could be signing up for a course. Could be having an honest conversation with your spouse about the household budget. Could be sending that LinkedIn message to the old colleague you've been meaning to reconnect with. Any of those moves, taken seriously, compounds into something meaningful over the next year. And if you found value here, hit subscribe, ring the bell, share this with the friend or family member you keep worrying about. Failed Finance is built one viewer at a time, and the comments and shares are the only fuel this channel runs on. The American economy has been counted out 100 times in the last 100 years, and every single time, the families that adapted came out richer, freer, and more resilient than they were before. AI is the next big test. The folks who treat it like a threat and freeze will struggle. The folks who treat it like a tool and a tailwind will build the kind of careers and household balance sheets that hold up no matter what gets thrown at them next. I'm betting on the second group. I'm betting on you. See you in the next one.